Moving forward, let's insert the link. Let's head over to our assembly toolbar and select Insert Parts and Assemblies. Heading over to link, twirling this down, left click on part 1. Let me zoom out and place this part here. Left click. And notice we have 2 instances of link. Let's head back to our Insert Parts and Assemblies window, selecting part 1 of link, and let's place the second part here. Left click. Hitting the green check mark. Our next intent is to have this cylinder inserted on this hole. And the appropriate mate for that in Onshape is the Revolute Mate. The Revolute Mate allows 2 entities to rotate or have a rotational movement about the Z-axis. So I'm going to select Revolute Mate. And notice on this drop down, we have a Revolute. If ever we have a change in mind, we can select this drop down and select our new and the preferred mate type. Let me head back to Revolute. Next, we are now prompted to select mate connectors. And notice as I hover over this part, what you're seeing on the highlight is the mate connector. So notice the green, red, and the blue lines, that denotes its positive direction. In addition, the front face of our plate is currently highlighted. And on the corners, we are seeing a small white dot depicting the corners and small boxes depicting the midpoint of these edges. Once more, as I move over to this white dots and boxes, our mate connector snaps. So it snaps on this corner, on this midpoint, on this corner, and at the center of this face. Let's move our cursor or hover over the top face of our plate. So notice the location of our mate connector. And notice as I move my cursor at this corner, our mate connector snaps at this midpoint and back to the center. Hovering over this cylinder, zooming in, and on this face. In addition, we can lock 2 faces. So notice we are currently at the right face of this plate. I'm going to hold Shift and move over this top face. So notice we are still locked on the right face of this plate. Hovering over this face, notice we are still locked on our right face. And notice as I release my Shift button, because my cursor is at this face, this is now our new target face. Let's now define the position of our mate connectors. I'm going to rotate, head over to our link, zoom in, hover over this face, and left click to define the position of our mate connector for our first part. And for our second mate connector, I'm going over to the back of our plate, zoom in to this cylinder, hold Shift, and select this mate connector. So notice those 2 mate connectors are now coincident with each other, we have this window wherein on the fly we can change the type of a mate. I can flip the axis. We can reorient the axis, solve for full assembly, cancel the operation, or simply commit to this by selecting the green check mark. Inspecting. Shift 7 for isometric view. Let me cancel this out and hover over this face, left click and hold for you to see the effect of the Revolute Mate. I'm going to release. Let's add a Revolute Mate once more for this link. Going into our plate, heading to our assembly toolbar, selecting Revolute Mate. Let me place our mate connector on this face, left click. And this time, for our plate, I'm going to hold shift to lock to this back face. And this time, select this mate connector. So notice, the effect is the same with our previous mate connector selection. Selecting the green check mark, hitting Shift 7 for isometric view, and cancel out this active command. Join me in the next lesson as we bring in the last part into this assembly.